Or you could just be playing video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
Duh.
Okay, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Yeah, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Yeah, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer.
And video games are a real problem.
Okie dokie, boomer.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. All right.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Joe Rogan made an oopsie, but it's more complicated than just misspeaking. You know, when you're literally one of the highest paid people on earth to sit in front of a microphone and talk for hours on end, you're going to have some missteps. You're going to have some bad hot takes. You're going to have some oopsie doopsie poopsies. And Joe Rogan, he did have a boomer level take on video games this weekend, which we're going to look at. But I also think it's funny that that people criticize this take. Some of the people criticizing this take are the same people that endlessly whine about Joe Rogan using his platform, platforming people they don't like. Joe Rogan, these are the same people in many cases that just flat out don't like Joe Rogan. And now they're pretending, oh, I'm getting the vapors, oh heavens. Boomer has boomer take. So it's funny to look at both angles of it. But you know what? I like video games. Video games can be a good time waster, just like any hobby. In fact, look at my wonderful disc plates. This video's sponsor is Displate. They're high quality prints on metal. They come in matte finish like this, gloss finish like some of the ones you see behind me. I've been swapping them in, swapping them out on my set. Hope you're enjoying that. They mount on the wall super easy using magnets, which allow you to move them around or create collages or getting separate small ones to create a large mural. Displate.com is offering just my subscribers for the next few days. You can save up to 32% off. This is the biggest discount they've ever given me. If you order 1 to 3 disc plates, you're getting 27% off, which is already the biggest discount I've had. Then if you get more than 4, you get 32% off. They have everything on their website: Star Wars, Marvel, Overwatch, DC, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, sports, art, animals, whatever you could think of. They've got a high quality print for you, and they've been supporting this channel for a long time. So with everybody locked in right now and their walls looking really boring, head on over to Displate using my link in the link description below, and you can save huge while supporting the channel. Now, the original clip is just a minute long, and essentially what Joe Rogan says is video games are a real problem. You know why? Because they're really fun. You do them, they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere. Joe Rogan has described video games as, quote, a waste of time for most people. That is a really disingenuous interpretation of what he said, but also he is kind of boomering it up here. I mean, if you look at the actual take, here it is.
And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? You do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
Now, what Joe Rogan, whom I strongly support, this is just, hey, if you don't call out people that you enjoy, then you're just being a hypocrite. What he's saying here is, yes, there's a lot of time-wasting elements to video games. The problem is, that's basically true of every single hobby that anyone does. Yes, you're fishing. You could fish every day. Well, I suppose that's not as a great one. Reading books. You read books every day. You know, you're doing it to kill time. Now, you are gaining knowledge when you read books, but maybe you're just reading fantasy novels. You're not reading Aristotle. You're not reading philosophy. You're just reading comic books every day, okay? That's true, but also it's not a net zero. It has some benefits. Maybe you read comic books every day as a time waster, and that's what you want to do with it. But there are a lot of people who then could go on and have a comic book YouTube channel, could go on, become a streamer, talk about comic books, review comic books, write comic books. All of these things come from a continued experience with comic books. Video games are the same thing. And there's, in fact, arguably more levels that you can turn video game play into a career. You could become a professional streamer. You could become a YouTuber. You could become a video game designer. You could become, if you're really bad at video games, a video game journalist. You could do a lot of things from playing video games. And this is where he falls apart, is because he used the example of jiu-jitsu. And, oh, if you practice jiu-jitsu, then you'll just be really good at jiu-jitsu. Well, being good at jiu-jitsu isn't inherently something that adds value or creates wealth. But it does open doors. And the exact same thing is true for video games.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn jiu-jitsu. You get obsessed by jiu-jitsu.
Now, yeah, you get obsessed by jiu-jitsu,
And then
sure.
3 years later, you're like an elite jiu-jitsu athlete. You're like,
Again, a worthless skill in and of itself. Yes, you could defend yourself in some scenarios, but still won't beat a pew-pew. And being a world-class jiu-jitsu person, although I'm guessing it would take longer than 3 years, but I'm not going to nitpick, doesn't inherently bring any wealth, prestige, or add any value outside of you getting fulfillment from that as a hobby. Now, if you choose to take that skill and monetize it, you can. But the actual act of learning jiu-jitsu is no different than playing a video game.
you're entering in competitions. You're a purple belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as video game tournaments.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one
You
day.
got confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about video games and I have 800,000 subscribers. I'm not saying I'm like wealthy, but I bet you Joe would be shocked to see what my earnings are every month. Just tangentially talking about video games.
If I have 100 students and those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month,
It'll still be tiny compared to what the 100th most popular Fortnite YouTuber makes. Joe is this is just a really bad take from Joe.
can make a living. Holy
Yeah. YouTube is full of people that make a living from video games. Twitch is full of millionaires who got there playing video games.
shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes and he's got a nice family and like, that's the future. This way you're doing something.
This is like mega boomer moment for Joe. Huge blind spot for Joe here. For somebody that just literally stroked $100 million check from Spotify to sit in a chair and talk, to completely not understand the billions in available revenue in video game circles around the world, whether you're a content creator, you're a developer, you're a streamer, but again, if what he is saying is simply, hey, if it's just a kill time for you and there's so much better things to do to kill time, yeah, but that argument also stands for jiu-jitsu. If you're learning jiu-jitsu without the plans of monetizing it or competing professionally or opening a dojo or any of that stuff, I don't know if you'd call it a dojo or a school, then you're also just wasting time too. Like, you get that, right, Joe? This is a bad take. The Joe Rogan podcast, listening to that for 3 hours a day, that's a waste of time. And you see a lot of the replies in here, not great. Quit gaming 8 months ago, bought a new car, I have an amazing new girlfriend, I make a ton of money, and buying this house in spring. I party every weekend, I'm never home, I'm enjoying life. Do yourselves a favor, stop making gaming a career, it's cringe. Yeah, I don't think so. If you had any idea how many 14-year-old kids are millionaires before they're 18 because of video games, it's absurd. It's just, I don't even have to. I mean, Ninja, How about that? And I'm not even talking about the ninjas of the world. I'm talking about the random Fortnite YouTuber X1749er that nobody's heard of that somehow has 1 million subscribers and is making $40,000, $50,000 a month. You know, is that a waste of time? You could see Mixity here saying, books are such a waste of time. You could read books for 3 years, and then what after reading them? You're going to go to France, Moscow, or another planet? But you really get nowhere. I mean, it's all true. You see, I wasted my time playing video games as a kid, such a degree that I wanted to know how to make them. I wasted time learning some coding, art, sound, and music. And now I've been wasting my life, nearly 30 years, writing music for them, and companies waste a lot of money paying me for it. It's just a bad Joe take. But even like Rob Breslau points out accurately, Joe has been playing Quake for like 20 years and has brought pros and devs on as guests. His comments come from a place of being borderline addicted to video games more than anything. If you're going to get mad at Joe Rogan, there's better stuff to choose from. But if you ever want to talk more about gaming and esports can be a lucrative full-time career when you're done competing, or how to play Quake while on DMT, hit me up, Joe Rogan. You can see, as recent as last year, he said, I've rekindled my Quake addiction. Quake is free to play and might as well be sugar-coated heroin mixed with coke and meth, as reaffirming as analogy as you can get from Joe Rogan. Dr. Lupo saying, yeah, the clip seems like it's weird framing. You could replace video games in there with basically anything you do too much and it'll work. And that's what I think Joe Rogan really meant here. Joe Rogan was trying to say it from an addictive thing, saying that learning jiu-jitsu might be more fulfilling. It's still missing the spot. You know, he says, thank you. I just tweeted about this a bit ago. 100% he was projecting himself and his own addiction to Quake. Rod says he bought a T1 line for his apartment in 2001 just to play Quake with low ping. It's definitely personal. Like, Joe definitely has a problem with video games, with himself, you know, being addicted to them and I guess apparently in his mind losing out on opportunities because of that. But this is not a great take. But after all, it's not that big of a deal. You see a lot of people like, here's Imran Khan, ex-editor at Game Informer, caring what Joe Rogan says is an actual waste of time. There will never be a time to go to, actually, Mr. Celebrity Man, you're wrong about video games. Who cares? Let them be wrong. No one actually cares. Yeah, but you tweeted 3 times about it. And then this is where you get the real fulfilling look into it. Oh no, people are tweeting Joe Rogan clips at me with Ben Shapiro. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you look through a lot of the butthurt about Joe Rogan, it's coming from people who don't like Joe because he doesn't project the mainstream narrative. He's one of the very few mainstream personalities that have openly come out and ripped on Joe Biden. Mainstream, partisan. In fact, I would say Joe definitely has his, political leanings. But these are the same people that are whining about him having Ben Shapiro on his show. Then all of a sudden, now they pretend that they're mad that, he said this thing about video games. I don't know. It's pretty... Yeah, here's Tim Young, who's a author and comedian, saying, yet here you are caring what Joe Rogan says. Joe Rogan is trending again, so time to re-up the only good piece of cultural analysis. Every time we're forced to talk about Joe Rogan, I am minded of my best and most immutable axiom: nothing that only men like is cool. Again, Joe Rogan has a lot of vocal haters, politically driven hate. They're the same people that whine about the people he brings on his show, and they're jumping on this hate bandwagon. It's good to see most people kind of seeing like, okay, it was kind of a boomer take, but, I'd like to see Joe correct this. I really would. You could see you can also listen to countless hours of Joe Rogan and not see any improvement in your life. Paul Tassi, cannot bring myself to get upset about like the 356th dumbest thing Joe Rogan has said. These are people, but you are upset because you tweeted about it, Paul. Yeah, not a great take on video games, Joe, but also not the end of the world. Enjoy Texas. We'll talk to you again real soon.